Tandem Nomads, episode 214.
The pandemic has really been a portal. It's been an opportunity for me to turn all those pipe dreams into reality and into an actionable, portable business.
Hello, Nomad Nation. Welcome to Tandem Nomads, the podcast show and entrepreneurship platform where you can find great inspiration and tips to grow a successful, portable business and thrive in your global nomadic life. This is your host, Emel Deregi. I'm a business and marketing coach and the founder of Tandem Nomads. I'm very excited to bring to you our guest today that's one of the living proofs how to turn challenges into opportunities and also how to turn an economic crisis and a pandemic into a successful portable business and thriving with new opportunities. So to talk about this great inspirational story, I brought to you Natasha Rekhi. Natasha, are you ready for this ride together today?
I absolutely am. I'm so excited to be on this podcast with you and to share my journey with your listeners.
I'm so excited, Natasha. Thank you for coming here and sharing your inspiring story. For Nomad Nation, let me tell you a little bit about Natasha before we dive into her story. So, she's a theater educator and public speaker based in the Netherlands, and she's also been teaching children drama and theater through Europe, Asia, and the Middle East. She's been an expatriate for almost all her adult life, and she uses drama as a medium to support children of globally mobile families achieve social integration in cross-cultural environments, build confidence, overcome language barriers, and achieve self-expression. Natasha currently offers virtual drama classes for children under her brand Theatre4Kids. She also develops and runs the After School Drama Club at the International School of Amsterdam, and she hosts the Happy Families radio show on the local English radio Broadcast Amsterdam. What an interesting background, Natasha. This just tells a little bit about you, but I would love to hear a little bit of your actually story in terms of your career and your journey, and how did it lead you to start a drama, a virtual drama platform for kids?
It's been an interesting last few years in particular, but going back a little bit, I've lived the expat life for over 20 years, primarily in Asia and the Middle East. Spent my early years in sales and marketing, but always had a passion, an interest, and an education in the performing arts. So always been fond of stage, theater, and primarily working with children. Because even when I had the corporate job, I was working in edutainment and entertainment facilities. So there was always that connect with children. There was always that sort of bond. And somewhere I think my entrepreneurial journey really began in India, because I've been the trailing spouse for the longest time. And, when we moved to India, I had this opportunity to, wear my entrepreneurial hat and get going. And I thought, what better time to marry my passion, with a business idea. So I launched an outdoor theater program at that point, which was, again, very different, something that people weren't used to seeing. Everyone imagines the stage being indoor performing, but actually getting out there, being in the open, being exposed was very different and quite challenging for a lot of people. Having said that, the expat life leads to one move to the other. And then next we were in the Netherlands, and where I decided to again continue my entrepreneurial journey and set up a conventional sort of theater program. But then came the pandemic and things changed and have taken a turn for the better. And Theatre4Kids, which is my virtual theater education program, was born during the global pandemic.
This is so interesting and fascinating. So, would you agree if I said that the pandemic made your business portable? Because I can see that you had started businesses in different countries, but you had to let them and then go and start over from scratch. And now, thanks to the pandemic, you have a business now that you could continue wherever you go. Is that correct?
Absolutely. I've always dreamt of having a career in a suitcase. I've always wanted to have something that I didn't have to leave behind and something that I could take with me and call my own. And I think this opportunity couldn't have been better. I know that a lot of businesses have had to innovate, have had to adapt, change, and maybe a lot of ideas were born out of a need or a necessity. But for me, it was a moment, as I said, to turn all those pipe dreams into reality, to actually take action and to seize the opportunity. And there are so many reasons why this was absolutely the right time.
Yes, I love it. So can you tell us a little bit about how that business looked like before the pandemic?
Yes, before the pandemic, it would have been a very conventional, as I said, theater business. I would have had, the mortar and bricks. I would have had the venue. I would have had, people come, children enrolling in a program that was something that, that's out there that a lot of other people are doing in the market. And I don't think I would have had the opportunity to innovate. But here comes a pandemic. Here comes, social distancing, lockdowns, working from home, homeschooling, so many different things happening in our lives. And yet there is that moment where you can innovate, that you can bring out a business idea that is a standout and that then fulfills a need in the market.
So could you tell us a bit more about that moment where you decided to take it online? How did it happen?
It's very interesting, and I love sharing this because it wasn't really, here's the business plan and we're going to go for it. Of course, that business plan, as I said, existed. It just existed in a different format. But when the pandemic started, as I mentioned before, I teach at the International School as well, and a bunch of parents, we decided that this is a very difficult time. Let's set up a virtual community. So I brought together friends and some of my family living in different countries, and we thought the average school day just had so much distance learning and had so much prescriptive information coming to our kids, but we needed to have some fun. We needed to create something that would be exciting, interesting, and keep the social connect growing. And at that point, we just started as sort of like a way to socialize amongst a bunch of friends and a community of parents, snowballed into a full-blown business because here I was and I thought, okay, if this can bring people together, if this is acceptable, if this is a point of difference and it fulfills a market need, then I need to think about it. So that was really the true moment when I sat and I said, okay, there is a market for this. I need to go out there and I need to make this happen.
This is so good. So what did you have to put in place to start turning this idea? And I guess you've been testing and seeing that there was an interest, but then how did you start turning it into a business?
So one of the first things that I did was obviously identify the market need, but at the same time, look around me and see if there was somebody else doing what I wanted to do. And to be honest, there was no blueprint. I mean, I had a free rein to innovate, to come up with ideas. So I already had the offline programs in place that I would have put in place had there been no pandemic. But then going online meant I had to spend a lot of time creating content for online. So there was nothing to replicate. I had to design these programs from scratch. So a lot of work spent in putting in research. And I already had that research when I was running the virtual community with family and friends. So I'd already sort of tested that idea to see that, yes, it works. It has legs. Having said that, all the conventional sort of marketing practices and plans. So making sure that I reach my audience, and I build a connection with this community. And one of the things that I did get the opportunity to do was to bring together all my different interests onto one platform. So as I said, I also, work at a radio station and run a radio show. So here I was running pandemic parenting series, talking about how to get creative during the pandemic, or writing blogs, or getting active on social media, really using the digital platform to inform and educate my customers about my new product offering. And then, of course, collaborations, which really helped me to make the connect with people who had similar values, similar ideas as myself, to make sure I get my message out there and reach my customer to serve them better.
Yeah. So before we get to talk a bit more about the marketing aspect and how you attracted these clients, you talked about it now a little bit, but I still would like to have an idea of, okay, what does the business model look like now?
So at the moment, we're a virtual theater education platform, and we serve global communities. Children can enroll in workshops. There are also long-term curriculums that we're working on. We've partnered with entities outside of the Netherlands to make sure that we, reach other markets. We work with schools as well. So we have a tie-up with online schools, which is very interesting because now we have another community that we can reach out to. So primarily it's theater education through online workshops, and which then culminate in virtual performances or even radio drama products, which are created by the kids for the kids.
So I would like to know a bit more pragmatically, like how, if there's a parent who's listening, how do you help and how does it work?
So if a parent wants to enroll in our workshops, then they get in touch with us on social media currently, and they can enroll in any of our workshops that are on offer. And kids sign up. They usually go through a 4 or 5 week program with
Okay.
us. And that's the average sort of workshop size to make sure it's relevant, it's not very long, and that we can keep sort of adding a bit more interest, because it is after all online drama. So we
Yeah.
want to make sure that kids are interested and invested in it. And then we have virtual performances at the end of those workshops, that
Oh,
then is a nice showcase that then parents can sort of see the value add. They can see a tangible sort of a result of being a part of our workshops.
that's amazing to have an actual online show that people can come and watch on Zoom. Isn't that cool? I love it. Is it what you're saying?
Yeah, it's usually an online sort of showcase and a show, but we also, as I said, do radio drama. So there's a lot of audio that we're producing as well as a part of
Oh,
our workshops. There are a lot of audition tapes that we're producing. So sometimes there'll be older kids who want to then, carry that through to university, or use that for more serious acting careers later on, later down the line. So there's a lot of different aspects, for depending on the age group of kids. So for the younger kids, it's more confidence building. Our program is built on the 4 C's, as we say, on building better communication, on building confidence, creativity, and concentration. So these are our 4 pillars, and we make sure that the program actually addresses these 4 pillars to ensure holistic development for children.
I love that actually when you talk about these 4 C's. And ultimately, every business starts becoming powerful when you address those pain points and the problem that you're trying to solve with theater. Theater is not the end goal. The end
Yeah.
goal is all these 4 C's. So, actually, can you tell us a little bit about what is the problem you're trying to address? What are you trying to do with these kids?
I'm trying to make sure that they are confident individuals, that they are good communicators.
Mm-hmm.
As I said, I have a very diverse, multicultural classroom. It's not just kids from one country; it's children from different backgrounds, different cultures. It's so diverse, and I want to actually create this feeling of inclusion to make them feel comfortable in their own skin, to make sure that they are confident, and they also see good language development, because after all, you want to try and do that in a creative and a fun way. So teaching English through drama, that's an area that we also explore. Currently we are also looking into partnering with in different languages. So we have learn Spanish through drama, or learn French through drama. So make sure that language skills, new language skills, are acquired as well. And I think a lot of the shy kids, they benefit from the online medium, because there's such a lot of one-to-one interaction. There isn't any distraction. So I have different areas. There's obviously the language side of things. There's the confidence side of things. There's also the personality development, which a lot of children struggle with, and socialization. That's really the big problem in the pandemic right now. Children are facing isolation, anxiety issues because of the lockdown. They can't go out. And here they're building a huge community of friends, interacting with people that they wouldn't normally have the opportunity to meet and socialize in a very safe and convenient space. So we're offering them that without them having to leave their own homes. And I think this is such a beautiful opportunity for parents and for families to take advantage of.
Yeah, and I guess for me it makes complete sense that during the pandemic it just boomed for the simple reason that parents didn't know what to do anymore with their kids who were stuck at home and they needed to move and have fun and also it's partly educational at the same time. So it's definitely it was being in the right place, the right time, I guess, don't you think?
Absolutely. And I think when you said not being able to move, I also wanted to highlight and jump in at this point and say our programs are sort of they're not static. So there's a lot of movement. There's a lot of song and dance. So,
Yes.
I've seen fitness programs do so well during, for example, during the pandemic. And I thought, okay, there's got to be an opportunity to, as I said, create this online program for online. So we haven't really taken a curriculum that exists offline and try to patch it in. We've actually written it to suit the online environment, to make
Mm.
sure that it fits in. At the same time, it works on the 4 pillars that our program stands for, about concentration, communication, confidence building, and creativity. So it's interesting. We want to make it appealing to children and relevant, and also hopefully fill in those gaps that currently exist in their lives.
Yeah, I think I've been saying that subliminally because I've been watching some of your videos with children on Instagram, and you could see that they move, they have fun, and it was very interesting how you managed to include everybody through the. It just didn't feel like it was online. You almost feel like you were in the same room. That was really amazing.
Yeah, thank you. That's really been a huge win. I think the fact that children want to continue, and don't sort of tend to leave these programs. So we've actually seen that children, when they enroll, they're there for the long haul. So it's not a filling in the gap. I think it's almost like going to become a way of life, a choice for them, because now they have the opportunity to choose. The program of their choice. Earlier, maybe in the countries that they were in, these options weren't available to them. So, or maybe the particular module that we're working on wasn't an option, and it would probably be available at a different time and place. So I think there are different factors that make it appealing and relevant for children and families.
Yeah, this is so good. So you say very often we, and I
Yeah.
wanted to know what do you mean by that? Could you tell us more? I'm interested by that part of the we.
Yeah, I think the we is my husband and his potential involvement in the business. It's, I sort of envisioned it to be this way. And I think he's seen that this business opportunity has a future, and that he would like to also help with marketing, because that's his skill set. So we're potentially partners in this, but also there are external partners that I work with. So now, as I said, we've got people on board, the rest of the team that's coming on board to help with languages, and help facilitate language learning through drama, and also potentially other partners in the business who would come in as advisors to work even with adults down the line. So that's also in the pipeline. So there are other collaborations and collaborators, and also partnerships that are currently in the pipeline, I should say.
This is so good. I love it. And so I would love to hear more about your personal story and your journey with your partner, because we know that if we want to start a business, we do need to have a support system. So I'd love to know, how did you have that, build that support system to be able to run your business today?
I think it's a very good point that you bring, Amal, because it's always easy to sort of have that plan, but then to put it into action, you do need, to collaborate, not just outside the house, but also inside the home. And I think been fortunate in that I have a supportive partner. Yes, I have been the trailing spouse. I've been able to sort of pack my bags and make an opportunity work for me wherever I went. But the fact that we have very clearly divided and conquered, in a way, our roles and responsibilities makes it possible for me to put my dreams into action. And I think we're a good team. Yeah, and we've been able to sort of make it work that way through our expat journey.
So what are how did you get to have your husband be on board and also want to actually now be part of the business?
I think he was initially very skeptical, because he thought, okay, this is another, idea that you have, and is it going to work? And of course, there's always that little bit of, I would say, curiosity that did come in to say, I'm interested to see what's going to happen here. And suddenly, he saw the attention that my business started to receive, not just from my customers, but also from the media and people sort of validating that. But not that that was the only thing that made him believe in it. But I think that he saw that, everything is moving digital. So there is also that momentum that I was able to sort of get onto. And we've been consciously thinking about, a business idea for a long time. So the fact that this is already in motion, and the fact that it has already gathered momentum, and there is a need for something like this, convinced him. And of course, the fact that I was so passionately behind it convinced him
Mhm.
that he could also sort of support it in a more active way than just allowing me to, do it by myself.
Yeah, I think that's so important. But I guess the interest, but also that, team, that's why the show is called Tandem Nomads. I think is really important to have that communication.
Yeah.
But I do see how the interest was there. And actually you talked about media. How did you get to have the attention of media?
This is one that I love talking about because I think if you don't put yourself out there, no one's going to do that for you. And I think taking that risk with a business was one step, but the next step was making sure that I found the right partnerships and the right area people to collaborate with. And in that, the media works very well for you if you add value. And I always say that, it's not about just wanting to sell your business idea, but just also serve your customers and serve them through the media in a very relevant way. So a couple of things that I did do and worked for me were setting up this community during the pandemic. So making sure that I was on all the relevant parenting blogs, contributing with ideas, writing for them, hosting the Happy Family show, but setting up pandemic parenting within that to offer advice, bringing in guests who were the experts, but then also adding in my expert tips to help families get creative, was something that the media and the audience both saw as a huge value. And I think that value add helped me to leverage the media and spread the word about my business.
Yeah. So, when we listen to these amazing stories like yours, we could easily, how do you say, slide into thinking, oh, it's been so easy for her. And I'm pretty sure that you had to deal with some challenges along the way to be here. And the journey is even just starting. I'm sure there's going to be even bigger, with especially now that you're including languages. But could you tell us what are the challenges you had to go through, be it through the pandemic or even before in your journey to building your own source of revenue and your own source of fulfillment as well?
I think the first thing that, at least with regards to the virtual theater business, is educating the customer, telling them that it can work, convincing them that this is not some novel idea that we're throwing at you that doesn't have a future, but it actually works. And convincing the parenting community. And that's always going to be a hard sell because theater traditionally is something that you do on stage, you perform, there's an audience, but how does a virtual audience work and why is it relevant? And I think the fact that we've had actors, musicians, singers, and dancers using online media for years for rehearsals, for shows, and come to think of it, screens are also online pretty
Mm-hmm.
much. So that education of the customer and consumer continues to be something that needs to be worked on consistently. And the other area is, this whole aspect of distance learning. And I want to make this distinction here that online education is not distance learning. Online is curated for online. Distance learning is classroom learning that's been adapted. But when you talk to parents who've been homeschooling their kids, they are nervous about enrolling in an online program, saying, oh my God, it's going to be another distance learning sort of experience. So that's always something that I think I struggle with at the moment, and that I'd love to sort of ensure is a perception that I correct successfully. And that's why the media and writing articles and using social media and also being on the radio and talking to my customers, having those open conversations is so important to convince them that yes, this works, and yes, this is something that's good for your child.
Yeah, I think I love what you just shared here about, that you have these challenges and now you're looking at how to address them. And I do think that sharing the message out loud around the media and your content is the way to go to educate people. If I give the example of Tandem Nomads, when I started, entrepreneurship as a solution to expat partners was like a lot of time will tell me no. I mean, how can I start a business while living on the move and the family and everything? And just sharing the message consistently, saying that it's possible and sharing success stories of how it's possible is a way, I think, that definitely the way to go. And that's what you're doing now. But you mentioned the importance of media, and I would like to go back to it because I loved when you talked about the importance of putting yourself out there. It seems to be natural for you, I guess, because you're in the, theater, you love theater, it's all about self-expression. But for those who might not feel comfortable to do it, what would you like to share about that to encourage people to reach out to the media and build relationships to get exposure?
I think when you come from a place that you add value, that you think that you can be helpful, that you're not looking at it as, you're not looking at it as a point of, building your own image, but building something bigger than that, then it becomes slightly less daunting. I don't know if I'm being very clear here, but I just feel that a lot of people get nervous thinking I'm going to have to share my story, but you are sharing just your story and nothing more. And I think the fact that you have value to add is always going to be respected if it comes from a position of being authentic. And I think that in that respect, I know people feel nervous about speaking, but there's also the opportunity to write. There's also the opportunity to create ambassadors for your business. And this is something that I've done consciously. So I have the parenting community, as you mentioned about, testimonials, or you alluded to that earlier, but I have a lot of the parenting community, creating testimonials for my work, and then that goes to the media. So it doesn't have to be you if you're nervous about putting your face there. You can have people who believe in your business, who've had a positive experience, be the ambassadors and be the voice. It's always nice to put yourself there, but maybe it's something that you do in collaboration, with your consumer. That's also a different way of getting out and getting the word out.
Yeah, I love what you're sharing here. I want to talk about the journey that led you to where you are now. And, this idea that came out, the pandemic was a trigger that made it come out and boom in a way, because the interest was there during the lockdown. But I don't think it's a coincidence that you ended up in this point today. It's a series of things that you've done in your journey and all your interests, I think, that came together at some point to give birth to Theater for Kids. So we could see that you're marketing savvy as well. I think you do have a background in marketing as well. So could you tell us a little bit more about what you did before you got into theater and creative, workshops, etc. And what were all these interests that you had to work out to figure out what is that thing you want to do?
Good question. I was fascinated the other day when my mom sent me a photo of me, in one of the newspapers when I was 6 years old, dancing with no inhibitions, like no one's watching. And that's when I thought, hey, it started when I was 6. I mean, looking back, I think I was always interested in the performing arts. I always, I love music. I performed on stage several times, done Broadway work. But then, somewhere down the line, you wonder, can you make a career out of it? Is it something that is, is going to be something that you can continue for the rest of your life? Is it just an interest? Is it just a hobby? And I think I just parked that idea somewhere. So that, the interest was always there. The passion was always there, but it was an idea that was sort of sitting in the parking lot for the longest time. And having said that, I always did pick my corporate career also to linked it back to entertainment. So if I was working, in any of my corporate experiences, it always had something to do with movies, with cinema, with arts, with entertainment. So there was always that sort of connection.
Could you tell us actually, what did you do so that we can illustrate that? What did you do in terms of? I think you moved to Qatar and things like that. Could you just take us briefly through that journey of what you did?
So in the early 2000s, I moved to Oman, and which is where I worked with a cinema company. And, cinema business was fairly new there. They hadn't even looked at how they would promote it in that country. And suddenly I arrived with all these ideas, fresh out of university, saying, yes, it's possible. Again, I like to be disruptive. I think that's just somewhere in my personality. But having said that, I gave that a shot, and I, developed a whole business idea, plan for them, and we started launching movies in Oman, which was something that was not really very popular at the time. Later on moved to Dubai and worked for the biggest mall operators in the UAE, and there also launched several edutainment brands, and also worked with cinemas again, because again, like the performing arts, can't leave that behind. And then, of course, my family grew, had my two sons, and we moved to India. And I thought, okay, now I need to kind of, take that risk. I need to take that chance. But again, go back to what I really know. So go back to the interests that I've always had. And, then when I moved to the Netherlands, it was like, it all came together through the pandemic where, prior to that, the radio show, and then also having this business idea of the virtual theater, it just seemed to all make sense. So right place, right time. But, the idea had germinated fairly early on. And it was just that somehow, as I said, it was sitting in the parking lot.
This is so good. I absolutely love it. So now we can understand, you see how suddenly you got to this journey and it just started building up. What is it that you would like to say to that old Natasha along the way, or to those who are in this journey trying to figure it out? What do you want to share with those who are trying to find that way?
I think I want to say that, go with your instincts, and, always try to follow your passion, because I think whatever you do, you can only be authentic if you really believe in the idea, if you really believe in that it's going to work. So that I think the faith and, comes from your passion somewhere. And, there is that, and find that red thread, because I often find people tell me, I have so many different interests, so how do I bring them together? There is a time and place to bring them all together. There is that opportunity. So if you, for instance, look at my own life, I say I enjoy being a presenter, I enjoy writing, I enjoy performing, but then I also enjoy making a business idea out of it. So, I have this moment where I can bring it all together. And that's also something that I give back to my students. I make sure that I put them out there, that they are on radio shows, they are on TV tomorrow if they can be. They're always there to shine, and we're a team. So I think just follow your passion and be true and be authentic.
You're creating your own crew online for generations. This is so
Yeah,
good.
I think it's very powerful to be able to work with children, to be able to sort of work with the very original and creative minds, because, often we'll work on ideas together. It's such a lot of collaboration that happens there that it's beautiful. I think we are learning from each other.
I love it. This is so, so good. So what are you working on now and what's next for you?
To take theater for kids, even more global than it is already, make it more accessible. I really want to create this common place for, I would say, this quality place for the performing arts online. So I want to make sure that if people think of, the performing arts, it's possible online, that it's accessible. And when they think of quality, they think of us. So I really think that that would be my goal going forward. We're working very hard on it. We're trying to make sure that we reach out to, as many multicultural kids as we can around the world, and build this beautiful community of happy, confident individuals.
Yeah, this is so good. And so, by the way, you've been speaking about multicultural kids and across the world. You've already started reaching out and attracting these people. So, how did you manage to attract your globally based client, your global client base? Sorry.
This is a very interesting question. As you said, the journey just comes together, doesn't it? Being the expat trailing spouse, I built networks in, different countries. And I really want to encourage, people who are thinking about, what am I going to get with moving out of these different places? I'm leaving a country each time. Build a network where you are, and you will find the moment to leverage it. And I think that the fact that I had all these contacts with schools, with friends, with family in different countries, I kind of could reach out to them and say, hey, I'm launching an online global business. And, this is a great offering. And it's amazing the number of helping hands that came my way, and people who wanted to be ambassadors in those countries for Theatre for Kids. So I really, urge everyone to try and use that global network and try and use that opportunity to really thrive in their global business by, that they're naturally predisposed to by just being an expat.
Thank you so much for sharing your inspiring story, Natasha. And tell us where we can find you. What's the best place to find you if we want to get in touch with you and learn more about Theatre for Kids?
So Theatre for Kids is on social media, is very active on social media. We are on Instagram and Facebook. So on Instagram, we're Theatre for Kids, theatre spelled the English way. So that's the only thing to remember with the number 4 at Theatre for Kids. Also on Facebook. Our website is soon to be launched. We're got some exciting things happening there as well. So yeah, that's we're online. We serve the online community, and that's where you can find us.
This is so good. So I look forward to having you back in a couple of years to show us what's next for you. I have the feeling that it's going to be a really interesting journey, even for moving forward.
Thank you, Amal. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you and sharing my journey with your listeners.
My pleasure. So, Nomad Nation, I hope that you found some great inspiration through Natasha's story and the living proof that out of a crisis, we can truly build a successful portable business. If you remember, I've had multiple episodes about marketing strategies around the pandemic. So I will link them in the show notes of this episode if you're interested about that. So check out tandemnomads.com/214. And you will also find all the information on Natasha and Theatre for Kids right there. So thanks again, Natasha.
Thank you for having me.
And Nomad Nation, I'll see you in the next episode. Stay tuned to turn your challenges into great opportunities.